Hello and welcome, my name is Lola, and in this video we're gonna be talking about small talk, which is essential for English learner. In this video we'll cover what is small talk, what topics are suitable for small talk, what topics to avoid, techniques for making small talk, and of course I will mention some common challenges and how to overcome it. Everything from a real life experience. Let's go. So I'm sure you know what is a small talk. If you don't know, it's like a light, small conversation that we have with people that we usually don't know in some setting, with our co-worker at the networking event, or just in line, any line, waiting, passing time. Let's say you're in long line for an ice cream or at a bank. Whatever it is, small talks serve a great purpose, in my opinion, of connecting with people, building a relationship. And once again, it's not about establishing like some solid relationship, exchanging contacts and becoming best friends, even though sometimes it could happen. Small talks are about being a human being, actually. So imagine you are in a company of people that you don't know. Everybody would feel a little awkward, a little uncomfortable because we don't know each other. So sharing simple idea or simple thought about like, nice weather, oh yeah, I love it. That's it. It breaks the ice. Actually, some people call them icebreakers, which is the same thing. Remember, the goal is not to find out significant, important details about the person's life. It's about engaging in short, pleasant little conversation. So what topics are suitable for a small talk? Think about something light and positive. Like nobody likes to be around negative people, and we don't want to engage into something specific, making the person uncomfortable. Let's say there's an election going, oh my God. Like, we don't want to talk about politics, you know, usually it actually makes people sad and sorrow. So think about the weather. Weather is the best topic, actually. Simple phrase like, beautiful day, isn't it? Like, wow, the sun today is blasting. Or you could even jokingly ask, let's say when it's raining or when it's so cold, ooh, love the weather. It usually makes people laugh because when you comment the opposite of what everybody says, like covering, you know, themselves with tons of sweaters and overcoats, and you're like, oh my God, can you pour more, dear rain? And people would laugh, whatever it is. Those are my examples, but I want you to understand the idea. So weather is always a good opener. The second idea could be related to the situation that you're in. If you're in the elevator, chances are your neighbors. You have something discussed about the building, the neighborhood, the management, whatever you have in common. Let's go through the common situations and I'll give you an idea for a small talk. Number one, networking event. Talking about the weather, always a good idea. But now let's look in the situation. Networking events suggest that we have something in common work-wise. We whether work in the same company or the same industry. We might even be acquainted to that person, but maybe we don't know much about the project he or she's currently working. So all of these topics are great idea. I think it's okay to be clarifying the name. It's like, I'm so sorry, I'm Lola. What was your name again? This question, what was your name again, doesn't necessarily mean that you've already heard the name. But usually, you know, when you work in the company, you kind of supposed to know people, but you know, sometimes it's difficult to remember names. So like, what was your name again? Is always a good idea. Like, oh, I'm Sarah. Sarah, true. You working, which department? Oh, accounting, right. Well, yeah, I'm in IT, for example. Have you guys been busy lately? And this question wouldn't suggest that you're requiring the full essay about the work. It's more about like, oh yeah, we've been busy, or like, not really. It's an icebreaker. It's not like you really need to know much, but it's more about like, hey, like, I'm with you, I'm working hard too, like, we're two human beings at the same setup, let's share our vibe, kinda. Or let's say you're at the conference and you guys just watched a presentation or whatever it is, you've heard some ideas from the speaker, you can like, oh, how do you guys like it? You can ask something like that, or did you guys like the presentation? Or like, what do you think? What do you think is always a good idea when, of course, you are in the same environment, in the same industry. So it's kind of like, by default, you know what you're talking about, right? It's not like at a Starbucks when you're kind of throwing, how did you guys like the last Apple presentation? And you're like, what? I don't know what you're talking about, right? Another popular location/situation where you need a small talk is a social gathering of any kind. Let's say a party that is thrown by a friend of a friend, or just a party you got invited to. Let's say it's a premiere of something and they're throwing a small party for this independent movie, for example. So it's always a good idea to ask, how do you know the host? Or if you know his or her name, like, how do you know Lola? I've been so many times in this situation, and it was hilarious sometimes when let's say you're invited by someone, like, oh, let's go to this party, and you're joining the party, and then let's say another person approaches you and like, oh, like, how do you know Dylan? And you're like, who's Dylan? I was like, well, that's his house. Or like, he's a host. And like, oh, right. Well, I'm actually here with my friend. It's a very common situation for America, not that common for other countries where I guess social gathering, I mean, depending on the event, I think, yeah. So asking about the host is always a nice idea. And by the way, finding out the name before the party, always a good idea. Another idea would be talking and discussing what you see. Usually, if there are snacks of some kind that are being served to the guests, or the music is playing, and you're all in this experience. So it's always nice to just comment on what you have. Like, oh my God, I love those. Have you tried those? I've been in this situation many times again. Once again, people are trying to break the ice. We're all, don't know each other. We're all eating those little sandwiches or whatever they're serving. So it's nice to just share our opinion on that. Like, oh, those are so good. But once again, stay positive. Stay like, not like, oh my God, is it a ham? I don't need a ham. I'm sorry. No, stay positive. Like, ham, do you want? I just don't eat it. It looks great, but like, I just can't because I'm fasting. Whatever it is. Or the music, like, oh my God, who's that? Who's that artist? Oh, that's my favorite song. Like, do you know that? Oh, I love him. I love her. Just be open to share some of your emotions in that particular moment. And you'll be surprised how many people are waiting for someone to break the ice, waiting for this little phrase of, commenting on a music, food, or weather, or clothes, or costuming, whatever it is, so they could just feel human and smooth into some little conversation that will make them feel less awkward, So be that powerful person. Ask them about this snack. Another popular setting for a small talk is a line of any kind when we're waiting in a public place. And the most popular question here is, have you been waiting long? Once again, I've been a lot in this situation when somebody's like just trying to, sometimes it's a small talk for the sake of having a small talk. Sometimes people really try to understand the situation. Like, have you guys been waiting long? Like, wow, like what's going on? Like, what is going on over there? Usually when it's a line somewhere where it's not supposed to be a line, it's okay to ask somebody like, what's going on? Like, is everything okay over there? Maybe. Let's say we're at the bakery and maybe cook didn't show up, or the cook had a stroke. Oh no, God forbid. A cook had some kind of emergency situation and they stopped making croissants. Why am I always talking about the food? See, I'm trying to have a small talk with you, like light and positive. We don't want to go into the deep and sad topics. So once again, you're standing in the line, you're like, have you been waiting long? No, not so long, just 5 minutes. Oh, cool. It moves fast. Oh, gladly. That's it. It already makes us feel good, or are you guys in line for that coffee? Yeah. Have you tried it? Oh, so good. Yeah. That's it. It's not like you're supposed to continue this conversation. It's not like you're supposed to, hi, I'm Lola. Haha, let's talk about the coffee. Where are you from? No, we don't want that. It's more about like, hey, I'm a human being in the same situation, the same setup as you are, so it's okay, it's cool. Like, you can count on me. I'm not a weirdo. Like, if you say something, I will respond. I wanted to be talking about that lately, about the challenges of having a small talk, but I want to talk about that now because us ESL learners, we're so concerned about the language that sometimes we forget about the purpose. The purpose of having a small talk, the purpose is connecting to other human beings. So nobody ever will judge your grammar or pronunciation, even the use of words. Usually, people are so forgiving and so happy just to have this little connection. Like, I had this many times. When somebody says something, I don't even understand what it is, but I would give them like, haha, because, it's like a person made an effort. Let's say he has a heavy accent. It's hard to understand him, but I know he's like trying so hard. And I'm like, yeah, like, I want to see that, like, I'm here. I'm trying to understand you too. Like, yeah, yep. Whatever it is, like, just acknowledge a human being, that will make him or her feel better. But speaking seriously, nobody will judge your language, so don't be afraid to try, even though sometimes you don't, it's like sometimes you don't know if your sentence is correct, Oh my God, I gotta give you this example. Once in Dubai, an older guy, he was trying to have a small talk with me, but I could tell that probably his English was not very good. He didn't know what to say. And, like, I'm just like this lady in the elevator. So he looked around. Great. He probably watched my video in the future. I know he had a time machine. So he looked around the elevator. The elevator was brand Hitachi. And he looks at me and he's like, Hitachi, good bread. And I go like, yeah. And it was so simple and so funny. And like, he made me laugh in a good way. And he's like, oh, yeah. So it's just that, So if I see the same guy like 10 minutes later in the lobby or wherever else, I would already feel more related to him than to other people because we had this small talk, we had this little connection, we had this Hitachi, yeah, good brand, oh, that's the guy, That's it, and that's amazing. Another setting for having a small talk is anywhere around our building / apartment / house when we are talking to our neighbors. So I want to mention some topics that we would recommend to avoid. Do you know that the trash day is on Wednesday? Oh, what was that? Oh my God, so sorry, does it bother you? Are you guys cycling? When did you move here?
I moved in last year.
It's just a human thing. Who I can become best friends with in our building. I am a normal human being who can respond.